Here's a segment from a recent Gun Talk radio episode. You can listen to all the Gun Talk radio podcasts however you tune in, or check out guntalk.com for more. All right, you remember last week I mentioned I'd been to a steel challenge match, and there was a young man there who was struggling, and he had announced that he had been in the military and he knew this stuff. He couldn't shoot for beans. I thought he was going to flat run out of ammo and have to go back to the store and get some more by the time he tried to hit 5 steel targets that really weren't that far away and really weren't that small. And I thought, well, that's one of those deals of he really did not know how good or how bad he was. And joining us to talk about that, how do you know? How do you test that? It's Chris Cerino from Range Ready Studios. He's the director of the range, of competition, of training, of everything else. Of course, you also know him from his TV experience there. Chris, how are you, sir?
Oh, I'm great, Tom. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Okay, so when we were talking before we got in here, you said kind of the same thing happened to you. You thought you were hot stuff until you figured out maybe you weren't so much, right?
Well, I did. I mean, heck, I was a police officer. I was the range officer. I was a SWAT guy. I did all kinds of stuff. And I mean, I was in my world. I thought I was good.
Mm-hmm. So what made you realize maybe that wasn't the case?
Well, you know what? I started realizing that I wasn't as good as I thought I was when I went to the Air Marshals. But, it wasn't until really when I went to, I suppose after Top Shot, I mean, I was a good shooter, but then you have to realize that you're not that great because there are so many people that are bigger than you. See, I was a big fish in a small pond, and I never knew it. And then when I became a shark in the ocean, then that's when I really had to start stepping up my game.
Well, that kind of leads us to the question, and I've asked people, so how do you know if you are a good shot? If you always go to the range and you beat your buddy, you have no idea if your buddy is good or bad. You have to go test it somehow, don't you?
Well, there's all kinds of different drills online. And, of course, Tom Givens has that casino drill. And as soon as I saw that was something that I wanted to go outside and see if I could do. And I didn't do it in stellar time, but I made the criteria and the times. But, unless you're shooting under the clock or against somebody, you really never know how bad you are. I mean, I've said in the past that of all the police officers I've trained over the years, I could give them a box of ammo, put them out at 30 foot from a plate rack, and they'd go through near the whole box before they got all the plates down. But they'd get them down eventually, but you don't know until you stand next to somebody and watch them actually shoot and knock down the plates one for one in, 3 seconds or less.
Right. It sounds to me like to find out if you're any good, you need to put it to the test. And one of the ways to do that, of course, is to go just sign up for competition somewhere. And that could be a local match, which is not intimidating. And all the local matches, they welcome people to come in. But, the other way, the obvious way is to go take a class from somebody who's good, because there are a lot of instructors and there's a wide range of that. If you go to Range Ready Studios, you're going to be put to the test. We're going to find. Let me ask you, you're really good at diagnosing students. How long does it take you watching somebody shoot to figure out what they can do?
I can do it in as few as one magazine. I could do it in less than that. But if I put them through a simple drill, a couple mags, I can usually tell by the way they manipulate their gear, their weapon system, and the hits that they get on target. But you're so right, Tom. Competition is great. A lot of people are intimidated by it, and it doesn't have to be, because honestly, some of the kindest, most generous people I've met have been at competitions. They want nothing more than to see you succeed and help you out. And then aside from doing that, you come to a class and you'll find out where you stand. I mean, if an instructor's worth his salt, the instructor's gonna say, hey, listen, this is okay, but this is not what I'm looking for, and we're going to do more.
Oh, you would have loved this match I went to. I think there were like 9 or 10 of us. It's a little bitty range in a little bitty rural place. But who's over there running the timer? It's Travis Gibson. Who's a neighbor. And, of course, Travis is a really, really good shooter. And, of course, one of the principals at MGM Targets. And Travis is not only running the timer and helping run the match, But for people who need it, he's kind of standing there next to him and doing a little bit of coaching along the way. Okay, work on the trigger. Let's work that grip. Let's do kind of just helping the way he can. But that's kind of the nature of most of these shoots until you get to the big matches and all. But on a local level, people will help you.
That's right. And the thing is, you never know who's going to be at that match. And I wonder, Tom, how many people that were at that match had no idea who that unassuming fellow was that was running that timer.
If somebody offers you a tip, you might want to listen.
It's happened to me all the time. I'll be on the range and I'll watch somebody do something with at a match, and I'll say, hey, if there's one thing you focus on the rest of this match, it'd be this and all. And some people will blow me off. And then other people will be like, can you explain that to me a little more? And I'll take them to the side and I'll work with them. I mean, I've had people that still message me years and years later say, oh, my God, ever since that time I met you at that match and you told me this, man, it made such a difference. And, but other people, they look at me and they think, oh, I'm just one of these guys, because I know everything. But,
Right. I was tempted for this young guy to say, look, can I come over to the side here? Can I talk to you? Because I knew that if I could talk to him for 10 minutes, I could get him on target and have him hitting targets. But it didn't lend itself to that. And honestly, I was a little afraid of being that guy who says, oh, hey, buddy, let me show you how to shoot. You're going, I don't know. So I didn't do it, but I felt like offering some advice. Maybe if I had been shooting better, I would have felt better about doing that.
Well, I'm sure you were shooting just fine, but I hesitate to say anything because you know what? Then you are that guy.
Yeah.
But people, they either know who I am or they don't. If they know who I am, that's cool. And if they don't, and they don't care who I am, I don't really care either because you know what? I give away a lot of stuff. And if you don't want what I have to give, that's an easy day for me.
You are a world-class instructor. And can I say this? Shooting well is simple, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily easy. Does that sound right?
Yeah, that's what I've been saying forever. I said shooting well is shooting's really easy. What's between our ears that screws us up and holds us back, that desire to be perfect all the time, the unwillingness to commit imperfect practice, and the struggle for perfection. And of course, wanting to be perfect is a whole nother problem because everybody wants to be perfect, but we have to figure out if we're going to settle at excellence or if we're just going to keep screwing it up trying to be perfect.
Oh, that's interesting. You can screw it up by trying to be perfect. How does that happen? You're just not working on the fundamentals?
No, that was me back in the day. Old Seeklander used to call me Mr. Roboto. So Mike Seeklander said, dude, you're going to have to learn to throw down because I tried to do everything so perfect, all my motions perfect, everything, and perfect. And all it did was make me slow. That's why I tell people all the time, slow is not fast or slow is not smooth and smooth is not fast. It's smooth as fast, truly smooth as fast. You have to learn to throw down. You got to learn to flow. And you have to be willing to commit that imperfect practice and that struggle for perfection. Because if all you want to do is keep everything perfect, you don't get a good grip on your draw stroke. And then people go back to the holster and they say, oh, I'm sorry, I got a bad grip. And somebody told me a long time ago, they said, hey, there's no do-overs. Don't do that again.
Right.
I never forgot there are no do-overs. You take what you get and you make it work because what it comes down to, and it is grip sights and trigger, Tom, but if I get a bad grip, what does it really come down to?
Now you got to put a good trigger press on it.
Sights and trigger, man. Yeah. I mean, how many have you seen me shoot a gun upside down, one-handed,
Yep.
My pinky, and it has nothing to do, there's nothing good about my stance, my grip, or my trigger finger placement. But if I can line up the sights and press the trigger, I can get the hits.
Whether it's a competition or a gunfight, the grip you get is the grip you're going to fight with, and you got to fight your way through the stage or you got to fight your way through the gunfight. And actually having done that and saying, okay, I got a bad grip here, but I'm still going to fight through this stage and shoot, that's good practice in and of itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell people all the time that poo-poo competition, because competition isn't real. Competition is BS. And I would never do this in real world. And I would never do that in the real world. And I would never shoot like this because they're making me do it.
Right.
Well, gunfight, happens, you don't lay the criteria. You don't set the stage. The person that whips out the gun, the knife, or shoots the first round, they're the ones that lay down the criteria for the match. So basically, you're going to meet their criteria and succeed, or you're going to say, oh, well, this isn't fair. This isn't fair, so I'm just going to let you just kill me.
Yeah, it's all. A lot of this is about the mindset too. But you do have to have the basics: grip, sights, and trigger. You got to go out and work it. But I would just say for people who are thinking right now, I don't need this because I've been shooting all my life and I'm a good shot. I just ask them, how do you know? Have you tested it against other people? Have you gone to a class to see how you measure up? Because if you haven't done that, you really don't know how good or how bad you are.
Well, it was funny in the last class that I had, the diagnostic pistol instructor class. I give my speech about how most people are shooters. They consider themselves shooters. Well, what is a shooter? A shooter is somebody that goes to the range or goes out to the backyard and discharges a firearm in a safe direction. All right. Well, there's a lot of shooters out there, but are you a gun runner? Are you a gunslinger? A lot of people consider themselves shooters. Well, that's fine. We get a lot of shooters in class, but shooters are generally people that go out and discharge a firearm in a safe direction. There's absolutely no training involved in it. There's nothing that I would want to do really in a gunfight or in a shooting match. I mean, if I could stand at a bench and pick up a gun, load it, shoot it, and hit the cardboard and call that good, well, that's not good enough. I give this talk to all these people, and I tell them, well, they're like, well, my wife would like to come shoot to this class. She's a shooter. She shoots with me. I'm like, okay, so do you load the gun, hand it to her, she shoots it until it's empty. She shoots the gun until it's empty, and then she hands it back to you. She shoots it really well, but it has done nothing to prepare them for coming to this training class or anything like that. Yes, a lot of people are just shooters. They don't realize what they don't know. And then they're overwhelmed. They start drinking from the fire hose, and performance increases because if they're smart, they listen to me. And at the end of the day, they're all like, oh, I can't wait for the next class. When are we coming back? Tom, most of our customers here are repeat customers. It's good and it's bad because it's great that people want to come back and learn more and they feel like they're getting a good value, but it's bad because we need new blood in here to spread the word.
Well, you're doing a lot of different classes. People can go to rangereadystudios.com. You just posted a bunch more as we're talking today. You got the Colt class code up, 1911s. You got you're doing some stuff with SIG experience. You're going to have Steve Tarani and Max Michelle doing a class. It's a whole lot of interesting stuff you guys are doing now.
Yeah, we got another semi-auto operator coming up, and it's funny because everybody wants to know when I'm going to do semi-auto operator level 2. Semi-auto operator is never the same class twice. Seasoned officers, seasoned gunslingers that have come to that class once every year because they know that it's never the same class twice, and they can always focus on something new as they go through the class. But, man, we're going to have so much fun. The Colt class, we're only taking 10 people for it, Tom. We've already got 4 signed up. Of course, everybody finds out that you get a Colt 1911 with the class. The Colt pistol costs as much as the class.
It's going to be great. Chris, I got to run. I'm out of time here. I appreciate your time, appreciate what you do. And, going back to the basics here is you don't know how good or bad you are until you go test it out. So you got to get out there, take a class, get into some competition, but find out how you match up against other people, right?
That's 100% correct, Tom. You can tell anybody to come on down here, and I'll let them know what they don't know, but I guarantee when they leave, they're going to know a whole lot more.
There you go. Chris Cerino from Range Ready Studios down there in Louisiana.